I'm doing is we're going to do secondary sanctions unless we make a deal, and we might make a deal. I don't know. You don't know. It's we've done so many peace deals. This is the one I started out with, and I know President Putin called me. He wanted to know if I could help him with Iran. I said, no, I don't need your help with Iran. I need your help with Russia.
2 nuclear submarines were quietly repositioned after a blunt warning from Donald Trump triggered a fierce response from Russia's Dmitry Medvedev. In a matter of days, what began as a strict deadline for peace turned into a high-stakes standoff involving nuclear-powered vessels. In this video, we're uncovering what really happened, what was said, why this moment is critically important, and how it reveals a growing shift in global leadership dynamics. Stay tuned. This isn't politics as usual. Donald Trump has once again shaken the global stage, this time by issuing an unusually short deadline aimed directly at Russia. In a statement made during his visit to Scotland, he declared that Russia must agree to end the conflict in Ukraine within just 10 to 12 days. This sharp shift came only 2 weeks after he initially proposed a 50-day window tied to economic measures like new tariffs. According to Trump, waiting any longer wasn't producing progress. There's no reason for waiting. It was 50 days. I wanted to be generous, he told reporters. But we just don't see any progress being made. This decision reflects growing public frustration, particularly after reports surfaced that Russia had launched a massive aerial campaign, deploying over 300 drones for cruise missiles and 3 ballistic missiles into Ukrainian territory, according to Ukraine's Air Force. Although the incident was not directly cited, the timing suggests it may have influenced Trump's more urgent stance. But Trump didn't stop at the deadline. On Truth Social, he posted that almost 20,000 Russian soldiers had reportedly died in the last month. While this figure hasn't been officially verified by third-party defense monitors, it underscores the scale of human loss and the urgency Trump wanted to project. He referred to the ongoing events as a ridiculous situation, emphasizing the need for immediate resolution rather than prolonged diplomacy. Trump's strategic use of deadlines has always served a dual purpose: to create public pressure and to send signals to foreign governments. But shortening the window from 50 days to barely 2 weeks drastically raised the stakes. It introduced a sense of impending decision-making, framed less as negotiation and more as an obligation with consequences. Importantly, this was not a government-issued policy or official action. Trump, not currently holding office, made the comments in a personal capacity. Still, given his status as a leading political figure and potential future U.S. president, these statements were widely interpreted by global observers as meaningful signals. The shift also reflects Trump's effort to distinguish his leadership style from the current U.S. administration, which he has criticized for being too cautious. His new timeline, though unofficial, set off immediate responses, one of which came from an especially powerful voice in Moscow. Shortly after Trump's statements, Russia's Dmitry Medvedev fired back with a message that was impossible to ignore. In a post published on X, formerly Twitter, Medvedev, now deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, warned that Trump's ultimatums would not be taken lightly. He wrote, "Trump's playing the ultimatum game with Russia, 50 days or 10. He should remember 2 things. 1. Russia isn't Israel or even Iran. 2. Each new ultimatum is a threat and a step towards conflict. Not between Russia and Ukraine, but with his own country. Don't go down the Sleepy Joe road." Medvedev's words carried both sarcasm and unmistakable seriousness. He didn't simply dismiss Trump's demand. He reframed it as a broader issue of U.S. Russia stability. Coming from someone in a senior national security position, his remarks were not viewed as personal opinion, but as a reflection of institutional thinking in Moscow. This wasn't the first time Medvedev had issued sharp responses to U.S. leadership, but the timing and content here were significant. His suggestion that Trump's timeline could affect America directly, rather than just Europe, implied that even unofficial statements by former presidents could be seen as a strategic posture. What makes this exchange especially unique is its medium. Once, such communications would have been delivered through formal channels or diplomatic statements. But in 2025, a social media post from a high-ranking Russian official can become the centerpiece of international attention. With a few lines of text, Medvedev sparked concern, headlines, and eventually, an unexpected decision from Trump himself. The statement also reflects how Russia currently interprets outside commentary, not as detached observations, but as many possible shifts in future U.S. policy. Trump's lead in current political polls may have further elevated the perceived importance of his remarks. If Trump wins re-election, statements like these could become real-world doctrine, and that alone makes them worth watching. By invoking comparisons to the current U.S. president and warning against following the same road, Medvedev turned Trump's own rhetoric against him. It was more than a clapback, it was a high-level warning cloaked in informal language, and it triggered real-world movement of U.S. military assets. This was no longer just a war of words. The exchange now had the attention of defense observers worldwide, all watching for what would happen next. In response to Medvedev's remarks, Donald Trump took a step that many did not expect. He announced that he had ordered the repositioning of 2 U.S. nuclear submarines. This announcement, made via Truth Social, was direct and chilling. Based on the highly provocative statements of the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, I have ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions, just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. This was not standard political language. It was a move that implied potential preparation for a broader deterrent strategy, although Trump did not elaborate on which submarines or regions were involved. Given that nuclear submarine deployments are usually kept secret due to their stealth role in defense, this public acknowledgement was highly unusual. Nuclear submarines, particularly the Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines, SSBNs, or Virginia-class attack subs, though Trump is not the current commander-in-chief, the announcement still caused a stir. Analysts immediately questioned whether the submarines had moved or whether this was a symbolic gesture. While there's no official Pentagon confirmation of an operational change, the statement itself served a critical messaging function. The implication was clear: inflammatory rhetoric from Moscow would be met with a strong response, both physically and symbolically. Whether or not submarines were moved, the perception that they were repositioned is enough to introduce uncertainty into the strategic calculations of foreign powers. It's also worth noting the tone of Trump's announcement. He cautioned that words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. This phrasing signals a kind of reluctant escalation, a response meant to deter rather than provoke, at least on the surface. The choice to go public with submarine movements also marks a dramatic shift in how former leaders use social media. Traditionally, such messages would come through press briefings or intelligence leaks, not Truth Social posts. Yet in 2025, this is the new reality. Geopolitical signals are now shaped, launched, and received in public, often without filters.
The windows in the various dining rooms are magnificent, and they're new, and they're much better looking than what was there. Same exact look, other than a much higher quality. And they're local people. I use a lot of your local people. You have really great local.
The bigger issue? The line between official state policy and influential commentary is increasingly blurred. If foreign adversaries believe a former president speaks with future authority, then their responses, both verbal and operational, might start reflecting that belief. Regardless of who is technically in charge, this wasn't just a war of words. It was a chain reaction. A bold statement, a sharp response, and suddenly, nuclear submarines are repositioned. In today's world, public remarks from global figures can trigger real strategic shifts. What once happened behind closed doors now plays out in full view, shaped by emotion, influence, and perception. This moment proves that language isn't just symbolic. It can steer decisions, posture, and policy. As leadership increasingly unfolds online, one thing is clear: when powerful voices speak, the world listens, and sometimes the most silent forces begin to move.
Of Russian families, they leave the house, they go, bye mom, bye dad, and then they get blown away. And Ukrainian too. Look at Ukraine. It's a disaster what's happened there. But it continues to go on. As you know, we made a deal where the European Union is essentially involved, but it's NATO, and we're supplying weapons to NATO. NATO's now paying because the United States, because of Biden's in for $350 billion, the European nations are in for about $100 billion. Should be the opposite way, by the way. because we have a big ocean in between. It should be the opposite way. But